London in the 1700s was a city of extremes. It was the largest metropolis in the world, home to more than 500,000 people, and the beating heart of a rapidly expanding empire. At the same time, it was chaotic, overcrowded, and often dangerous. Elegant new squares were rising in the West End, while only a short distance away, narrow streets were choked with smoke, disease, noise, and poverty. This was a city in transition, slowly shedding its medieval skin and becoming something recognizably modern. What makes this period so powerful to explore is how much evidence it left behind. Thousands of 18th century paintings and engravings captured London's streets, buildings, and daily life in remarkable detail. Today, by analyzing those artworks alongside surviving structures and historical records, advanced AI tools allow us to recreate how London likely looked and felt nearly 300 years ago, its architecture, its people, and its atmosphere. Through these reconstructions, we can step back into Georgian London and experience the city as its residents once did. Imagine floating above the River Thames in the mid-1700s, looking upriver from a point that would later become the site of Tower Bridge. Below you, the river is not a backdrop, it is the city's main highway. Sailing ships drift with the tide. Rowing boats weave between them. Heavy barges sit low in the water, packed with goods arriving from across the British Empire. Coal, timber, spices, cloth, and food all pass through this single artery. Rising above the dense rooftops is St. Paul's Cathedral, Sir Christopher Wren's masterpiece, completed in 1710. Its vast dome dominates the skyline, a symbol of recovery after the Great Fire of 1666 destroyed much of medieval London. Nearby stands the monument to the Great Fire, a permanent reminder of how fragile the city once was. London had survived disaster, but it never forgot it. Stretching across the river is Old London Bridge, still lined with houses and shops, just as it had been for centuries. It was not simply a crossing, but a crowded street suspended over water, noisy and alive at all hours. This single view captures London at the height of its Georgian prosperity, as it transformed from a medieval city into the capital of a rising global power. Now the perspective shifts eastward to One Tree Hill in Greenwich Park. From this elevated viewpoint, London spreads across the horizon. Church spires, clustered rooftops, and the faint haze of smoke from thousands of fires and workshops. Below sits the elegant Queen's House, framed by the grand colonnades of Greenwich Hospital, completed in 1751 as a home for retired sailors. Designed by Christopher Wren and Nicholas Hawksmoor, these buildings were more than architecture. They were a declaration. Britain ruled the seas, and London was its command center. Greenwich was the gateway to the capital for maritime trade, and this sweeping view allowed visitors to survey the entire approach to the city. There is a quiet significance to this hill. More than a century later, in 1884, Greenwich would be chosen as the home of the prime meridian, the reference line from which all longitude on Earth is measured. Standing here in the 18th century, fashionable Londoners admired what was considered one of England's finest prospects, a view that has captivated people for over 3 centuries and remains remarkably familiar today. From these wide vistas, we move back into the city itself, into a square that combined wealth, power, and creativity. In the mid-18th century, Leicester Square, then known as Leicester Fields, was one of London's most desirable residential addresses. Dominating the scene was Leicester House, built in 1635, and later associated with royalty, including Frederick, Prince of Wales. But this square was also becoming a center of artistic life. William Hogarth lived and worked nearby, producing works that exposed the moral contradictions of their age. Across the square, Sir Joshua Reynolds would establish his portrait studio in 1760, painting the most influential figures of Georgian Britain. At the center stood an equestrian statue of King George I, erected in 1753, a clear symbol of royal authority. Even here, change was already underway. Within a few decades, aristocratic residences would begin giving way to entertainment and public life. London was growing louder, busier, and more commercial, and even its most fashionable neighborhoods could not remain untouched. To feel the weight of London's oldest power, however, you have to return to the river. On the south bank of the Thames, looking across the water, stands the Tower of London. By the 18th century, it was already a monument to centuries of authority. For more than 700 years, the tower had controlled access to the city from the river, its stone walls projecting royal power. At the heart of the complex stands the White Tower, the massive Norman keep begun by William the Conqueror in 1078. By the Georgian era, the tower served many roles at once: royal palace, prison, armory, mint, and treasury for the crown jewels. It was a place of ceremony and terror, prestige and punishment. The waterfront was no ordinary shoreline. Prisoners arrived by barge through Traitor's Gate, passing beneath the tower's shadow before facing imprisonment or execution. At the same time, merchant vessels and royal barges moved steadily along the Thames, reminding us that this river was London's commercial lifeline as well as its line of defense. If the tower represented authority, the Royal Exchange represented ambition. In the 18th century, its bustling courtyard was where global commerce converged. Founded by Sir Thomas Gresham in 1565, the Royal Exchange was England's first purpose-built trading center, inspired by continental markets. Twice a day, the ringing of a bell signaled the start of trading. Merchants from across the world gathered in the open-air courtyard, shouting deals in dozens of languages. Bills of exchange changed hands, quills scratched across contracts. Fortunes were made and lost in moments. The surrounding arcaded galleries housed shops selling luxury goods, books, and maps, while early insurance businesses operated from these same walkways. This single building helped transform London into a financial superpower and became the model for stock exchanges around the world. Westward again, we arrive at St. James's Square, the height of aristocratic London. Developed in the 1660s, it attracted the wealthiest and most powerful residents in the country. Dukes, earls, and prime ministers competed for houses here, knowing that proximity to the court meant influence. Yet even this exclusive square had once been muddy and neglected. In the 1720s, royal gardener Charles Bridgeman transformed it, installing an elegant circular basin surrounded by stone obelisks and ornamental ironwork. It was a clear statement of order, refinement, and control, qualities the elite wanted to project. In the distance, the spire of St. James's Church rises above the rooftops. Over time, even this symbol of residential prestige would change, as clubs, businesses, and institutions gradually replaced private homes.
sunlight truly highlights the stonework.
Quite damp out today, isn't it?
Aye, we best get this delivered before the rain sets in proper.
What a dreadful drizzle. Are you certain this is the tailor Master Brown mentioned?
It is. Let us step inside before we are